The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, the maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 6 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS America product lineup includes three-phase string inverters ranging from 25 to 275 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 250-275, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. The 250-275 pairs well with CPS America's exceptional data communication, controls, and energy storage solutions. Go to chintpowersystems.com to find out more.
With a string inverter, you've got that conversion, you've got all of that functionality, safety functions, protections, that monitoring of the DC, the AC, other things like temperature, harmonics, at this more granular level. So for every, say, 250 or 275 kilowatts of the system, you've got all of this smart inverter technology that's there that can be used to, help trip off the system if there's an issue, make sure it's, safe and reliable.
Are you speeding the energy transition? Here at the Clean Power Hour, our hosts Tim Montague and John Weaver bring you the best in solar, batteries, and clean technologies every week. Want to go deeper into decarbonization? We do too. We're here to help you understand and command the commercial, residential, and utility solar, wind, and storage industries. So let's get to it. Together we can speed the energy transition.
There's a silent revolution happening in the utility solar industry, and that is the transition from central to string inverters. My guest today is Anton Patton. He is the Director of Product Management and Applications Engineering at Chint Power Systems. Welcome to the show, Anton.
Hi, Tim. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to doing a deep dive on what's going on in string inverter evolution for utility, C&I, and other markets. The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by DinoWatts. If you're a solar PV asset manager or performance engineer, you need better data and better business intelligence. With DinoWatts digital twin benchmarking technology, you get more accurate, efficient, and faster performance measurement results. The 4th generation Dino recently completed a technical review by DNV. You can download the report at dinowatts.com. That's DENOWATTS.com. Now back to the show. Give our listeners a little background on yourself, Anton. How long have you been in the solar industry and how did you come to Chint?
Sure. Yeah, I have been in the solar industry for about 10 years now. I got my background in engineering, have always, wanted to be involved with sustainability, figure out ways we could move towards sustainability. And solar and renewables really was a great fit between engineering and sustainability. So it was definitely something I have enjoyed the last 10 years. I started on more the design engineering side. So I've worked with project developers and EPCs working on the system designs for commercial and industrial systems, and as well as being out in the field, kind of working with the equipment. When I came to CPS about 5 years ago, I really enjoyed, working on the project designs, figuring out how to put everything together and really put a great design together. But what I liked about CPS and being on the product side was really being able to find ways to advance the technology. So seeing what new innovation could be done, what new products and features we could work on and bring to the market to best meet the changing needs of solar PV systems and the different technology that's out there.
You've been with Chint for over 5 years now, so you've seen quite a bit of product evolution in that time. And I'm curious, just at a high level, what stands out for you from back to 2018 to the present here in 2023? What is different about the string inverter industry?
Yeah, it's really been exciting to see kind of the evolution of our products, of the string inverter industry in general. I'd say kind of high level, one of the biggest changes. When I started 5 years ago, we had our 50 and 60 kilowatt inverter. We had just launched our 100 and 125 kilowatt. And now we're up to 275, 250, 275 kilowatts for a single string inverter. So, and I've seen that with the whole industry, kind of having that higher power and power density in a string inverter has enabled that type of technology and architecture to be used on larger and larger projects. You look at string and central inverters 10 years ago when I got into the industry, you would see 50 kilowatt projects using a central inverter. Whereas now, that's maybe on the lower end of a commercial string inverter. So I would say that's probably the biggest kind of high level evolution with string technology that I've seen with CPS. There's also been a lot of different, changes in the industry, whether it's rapid shutdown, IEEE standards, a lot of evolution within the industry that we've kept up with and stayed ahead of.
Yeah, the only constant in solar or any other technology industry really is change. And so you have to be ready, willing, and able to learn and grow. So let's talk about this phenomenon, central to string. I've read that, in some markets around the world, 90% of utility scale solar is being constructed using string inverters now. Here in the US, we may be a little slower to adopt some of those trends, but this trend is real. And, some of the obvious things that driving that are that string inverters are smaller, lighter, easier to get around, whether that's for installation or replacement or servicing. But when you think about central to string, what are the factors driving that adoption here in North America?
Yeah, some of the things you mentioned, I think obviously the sort of benefits on the operation side as you're looking at these systems that are going to be out in the field for, 20 plus years. It's really not just the initial CapEx of the project that a lot of developers are looking at. A lot of the benefits of lower risk of downtime if an inverter goes down. With a central, you've got maybe 5 or 6 megawatts in a single inverter, whereas if one string inverter goes down, it's a very small part of the system. And like you mentioned, it is a lot easier to troubleshoot, replace if needed. There aren't a lot of spare parts. I see central inverters as kind of bigger, sort of more custom pieces of equipment where it has specific parts that are needed for repair or replacement. A lot of the times you have to have the manufacturer's technicians go out and do the repairs. So I think that's a big benefit of if there is an issue out in the field, it can be quickly and a lot more easily addressed. There's also other benefits like data granularity. Our 250, 275 kilowatt inverter has 12 MPPTs. There's a lot more data there that could be monitored to ensure your system is operating at its peak performance. And if there is any issue in the field, it can be easily found using that data. One other benefit that our customers have valued is the design flexibility of string versus central, because a lot of systems today, even large utility scale systems, are a lot of the times not perfect rectangles. You've got different terrain you got to work with or work around. So having that flexibility of having smaller building blocks, or at least, being able to have building blocks that are more spread apart has really helped that transition. A lot of EPCs and developers are starting to see those benefits.
So when you think about a 100 megawatt power plant done traditionally with 5 megawatt inverters, you have at face value 20 inverters. Switching over to string inverters, if I did the math on a 275 kW inverter, you're almost 20xing the number of inverters in the project. You've got over 360 inverters in a 100 megawatt plant if you're using string inverters. Now, the string inverters are getting bigger, and we're going to talk about what our listeners can look forward to at RE Plus when they visit your booth. We're in the run-up to RE Plus in Vegas here in 2023. That's going to be September 11 to 14, so please join us. I will have a booth. Chint, of course, will have a big booth, and 30,000 energy professionals come together annually at RE Plus. If you haven't been, please check it out. It's a wonderful event and easy to get to now in Vegas. But that part count is that I referred to, almost 20xing the number of inverters. That might seem counterintuitive, that if you're, installing power electronics in a large, we're talking a 500-acre project. So let's go a little deeper into what developers and IPPs and asset owners, what are the advantages that are driving them? You mentioned uptime, and I imagine that is something that is front and center here. And when a 5 megawatt inverter goes down, that's a lot of juice, and that's a lot of revenue potentially lost from a power plant. So maybe that alone is the no-brainer flip of the switch. But if I'm an IPP and I'm doing this calculus, okay, 5 megawatt inverters. Now that's a big machine. It has to be craned onto the site or onto the pad, right? No human or no group of humans is going to carry that machine. It's the size of a small bus versus a 275 kW or even 350, right? You do have a 350 coming out, which is the size of a dining room table, perhaps a small dining room table, and could be carried by a few men. So what? You're interfacing with dozens and dozens of these customers of yours on a regular basis. I'm just curious what you're hearing from them and what is the value proposition that you're making to them?
Yeah, it's definitely a different architecture, string versus central for these large plants. We've really looked at having blocks of system where you could basically just repeat it, to 100 megawatts plus. And, our applications engineering team, we work closely with our customers to support them as they're designing their systems, going through the engineering analysis. And, with more inverters, you'll have more, I guess, on the DC side, whereas you might have combiner boxes or some kind of DC combining with a central inverter. Instead, you've got the string inverter there, both combining that DC and then, having that AC balance the system. In addition to offering the inverters, we're also offering a lot of the balance of system equipment, fuse disconnects. We've got an 800 volt breaker box product that we'll be showcasing at RE Plus, and even transformer skids, really designed to be installed together and operate together as a full building block, like a central inverter is, just in a different type of architecture. And yes, it's more inverters, but they are, like you said, they're smaller, a lot easier to repair or replace. And that downtime, if an IPP or developer is really looking at a project, it's really like if you have, say, 5 or 6 megawatts down for multiple weeks, that's a lot of revenue loss. That's a lot of system production. So it's that type of thinking and that kind of value proposition of, look, you're not going to have that kind of risk if a string inverter goes down, or even a few of them. We have multiple 100 megawatts of these in stock and available to quickly ship out if needed. Or you could have some on site that could be right there just to swap out and get the system back up and running.
You mentioned skids, and there's two approaches with string inverters, right? You either distribute them throughout the array, like at the end of rows, or you put them on skids and cluster them. And it's kind of apples and oranges. In my experience, there's no clear winner. it's kind of a personal preference, but it does bring up the possibility of doing offsite pre-construction. Is that something that developers are pursuing? Because, you're putting close to, when you think about replacing a 5 megawatt inverter with string inverters, you're talking close to 20 inverters. Can you make a 5 megawatt block on a skid that then is just brought onto the, shipped and brought onto the site that way?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely even ourselves looked at that type of integration, but I know there are integrators out there that are working on that type of solution with the string inverters, clustering them together, even some of that prefabrication of having it all shipped together as a unit. At CPS, we have, tried to make our solutions as flexible as possible. We know, depending on the different customers, the different sites or applications, or even different preferences. I mean, there could be, trade-offs of either type of design. So we try and keep our products flexible to be used in different ways versus just having, this is the only configuration you can use. This is how the product needs to be connected, but allowing, that type of flexible design and engineering with our customers.
When you're advising design engineers, your customers on different architectures, different approaches, what is that dialogue like? Is this somewhat of a shock to the solar industry, or is this a no-brainer and people are, like kids in a candy store buying up string inverters instead of central inverters? What is the adoption that you're experiencing?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd say today, the utility scale projects are still, majority of them are using central inverters, and central inverters are what have been used in utility for years and years. It's definitely, I mean, we're seeing that shift to string for a lot of these large scale projects, but a lot of it has been, I think, education of the industry of, yes, this may be the design that's been used for years and years, but here's this other architecture, and here are the advantages. Not just looking at, okay, it's more inverters, it's a slightly higher capex, but there's all these other features and benefits of using string. And with the string technology, having higher and higher power products coming to the market, not just CPS, but we've got our 250, 275 kW. We've got our 350 coming out. We're continuing to sort of innovate and see how we can best optimize our string technology to make it the best fit for utility scale. So yeah, I mean, I think as we are working with the designers and engineers, a lot of it is sort of one, just making sure they understand the string inverter architecture, how everything is connected, the different balance of system equipment options that are available on the market, either through us or what we've seen used for projects. And then a lot of education on the benefits that they can then take to either the developer or the site owner or off taker, so that they could understand that and make the decision of, oh yeah, do we look at these benefits, looking long term for this project versus just the initial capex.
In your experience, when you think about the guts of a Chint 275 kW inverter versus the guts of a 5 megawatt central inverter, you mentioned, for example, data granularity. Paint a picture for us. What is the difference between these two machines? They're both the heart of the solar array. They're both doing that heavy lifting, converting the DC from the solar panels to the AC for the grid or whatever the application is. But I get the sense that there's some nuances here that our listeners may not be aware of.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's the same, I guess, inverter technology in that they will convert DC power to AC, But with a string inverter, you've got that conversion, you've got all of that functionality, safety functions, protections, that monitoring of the DC, the AC, other things like temperature, harmonics, at this more granular level. So for every, say, 250 or 275 kilowatts of the system, you've got all of this smart inverter technology that's there that can be used to, help trip off the system if there's an issue, make sure it's, safe and reliable. Whereas, you've got the central inverter that's got the same things, but it's in one location. You've got all this large DC coming to one, and that's where it happens, and that's where the heart is, versus having it more spread out and having more data and more granularity to be able to really pinpoint, is there an issue? And if there is part of the system that needs to be serviced or maintained, you can shut off a small part of it, versus if it's a central inverter, having to shut down 4 or 5 megawatts of it to service that one part of the system.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, the maker of North America's #1 3-phase string inverter, with over 6 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS America product lineup includes 3-phase string inverters ranging from 25 to 275 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 250-275, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. The 250-275 pairs well with CPS America's exceptional data communication, controls, and energy storage solutions. Go to chintpowersystems.com to find out more. What else should our listeners know about this particular topic, central to string? We're going to talk about some other aspects of your product line and what's going on at RE+, but what else should our listeners know about the considerations for central to string?
Yeah, I think as designers or engineers are working on projects looking at central versus string, a lot of the big differences in the architecture is the balance of system. So with a central, you'll have a lot of DC combining equipment needed, whereas since the string inverter does that DC combining, it's instead looking at the AC balance of system equipment. So that's something our team can help with. We have products that we offer on the 800 volt balance of system equipment, which are 250, 275 kilowatt and 350 kW. Both have an 800 volt AC output, and that's allowed our higher power densities, but obviously it's been a transition from 600 volt to 800 volt, and we've brought products and solutions to the market to help with that transition, with that implementation. So a lot of the products like our 800 volt combiners, fuse disconnects, things to consider as you're looking at your system design using string technology versus central.
Very well. So let's step back again and paint our listeners a picture of what is going on at CPS and what can our listeners look forward to seeing and putting their hands on at RE+.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of new products that we're launching and we'll be showcasing at RE+ in Las Vegas. We have new 800 volt balance of system equipment that we are launching. Like I mentioned, we have a new fuse disconnect. We've got our 800 volt breaker box, which we've seen a need in the industry of having this type of 800 volt equipment to better adopt these high power string inverters for large projects. We'll also be showing a lot of our energy storage solutions that we're bringing to the market as well for both utility scale systems and C&I. So that's another area that CPS that we're doing a lot of product development and product launches in is the energy storage space. So a lot of exciting new products that we'll be showcasing, and if anybody is there, definitely come by and check them out at the booth.
What is the status of your storage products, and what markets are you targeting initially?
Yeah, so we have our C&I energy storage system. So CNI, we've been a market leader in that market segment for several years, and a lot of our customers are in that space, and we're bringing a turnkey 125 kW or 250 kW 2-hour systems to the US. So it'll be turnkey with the inverter, the batteries, the EMS, BMS, all in one system that can be installed at a commercial or industrial project. And then the utility scale. So we are going through the UL certifications now, of going through the UL 9540 system certification, of the batteries with the inverters. And so that's, we'll likely have those coming to the market early next year, since we're going through the UL certification now. But the CNI ESS, we have our first system coming to our Texas facility now. I think it'll be there in a couple weeks. So that system, we have our first batch coming. So we're planning to start deploying that and launching that product very soon here. So it's a very exciting time at CPS. I'm definitely excited about a lot of the products we have coming, especially on energy storage. Obviously, with solar PV, energy storage is a big topic of conversation, and kind of that energy transition of adding storage to solar PV projects.
Well, especially in markets like California, with NEM 3.0, which, really solar only pencils very nicely when you combine it with storage, in my opinion. So there are strong incentives for storage, but there's quite a few markets around the U.S., Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, that have carve-outs for storage as well. We have a $250 per kWh incentive in Illinois now. So a battery added to a solar array on a CNI system is cash positive in a year or two. Certainly no more than 2 years now, which is crazy, considering the value stack that you get from storage. But tell us a little more, though, about the CNI market, and what are the tough questions and problems that your customers are facing in the CNI market?
Yeah, I mean, for energy storage, I'd say, bringing energy storage solutions to the market. I think one of the challenges has been the battery technology supply chain. So, getting supply of these batteries, I think in general in the industry has been tough the past few years, but we're definitely seeing that change recently on, a lot of batteries being available in the market for not only utility scale, but also CNI and residential applications as well. So I think that has been one of the challenges that has come up. It's also sort of understanding energy storage operation and controls, since it is different than solar. I mean, solar, you have production when the sun's out and is on the modules, but with energy storage, you've got to understand the utility rates of when there is peak hours versus off peak, when to charge and discharge to maximize those economic incentives, charging when PV is producing. There's a lot of different things to consider, and complexity with energy storage that's different than just PV. So that's a lot of what our team looks at, and provides technical support for our customers as they look at our battery storage solutions.
Can you speak to attachment rates? What are you seeing? I mean, I would venture that attachment rates are highest in Hawaii because they don't allow grid injection of solar, but obviously it's a small but mature market. Then we have California with NEM 3. And then, markets like Massachusetts, which require storage on anything above 500 kW in solar. but what are you seeing?
I mean, it's definitely growing. We've seen a lot of customers and systems attaching energy storage, or at least, wanting to with their designs. So, I mean, we're definitely seeing, a significant amount of our customers. And I know I've seen some of the market data that, projecting over the next few years, a lot of solar PV systems will have energy storage attached to it. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely growing. I think we're kind of seeing more and more of it, now that we have additional solutions and products coming to the market. We did have our first generation energy storage systems that we've deployed for the CNI market. And with our next generation, our new products, we're definitely already getting a lot of, our customers that we've typically just worked with on the PV inverter side, really being interested in wanting to also attach energy storage, especially like you mentioned in some of these markets where PV only is getting harder and harder to pencil economically without some sort of energy storage attachment as well.
One of the greatest limiting factors in the energy transition is human resources, manpower, and it's a war for talent out there. What are the deltas that you think Chint offers its employees, and for those energy professionals listening to this, why should they consider checking out your jobs page?
In the 5 years that I've been with CPS, we have grown a lot. I think we've doubled the team since I've been here over the last 5 years, and we have a lot of different openings on our team currently. I, on the products and applications engineering side, have several open roles. And working with CPS, I'd say you really have the opportunity to make an impact on the solar PV and energy storage industry. I mean, we've shipped over 6 gigawatts. We're on track to hit over 7, maybe even 8 gigawatts of inverters for the US market. So that's, a big part of the energy transition of bringing solar to the US. And that's the US alone. I mean, we have our parent companies that, have global market presence, but here on the CPS America team, we're definitely being the inverter supplier, and on the engineering team, you're definitely connected to a lot of the industry, whether it's the designers, the engineers, we work with utilities, making sure we're staying up to date with all the market trends and requirements, a lot of the different industry groups. And, a lot of the products that we work on and innovate, there's a lot of opportunity with the inverters themselves. I mean, you mentioned that they're the heart of the system. There's so many different functions and features within just the inverter that, we can help improve and advance the technology for, that it's really exciting to be a part of that and work with our R&D team, our engineering team to really bring the best products to the market and understand those market needs and bring solutions for it. So yeah, and I'd say at CPS, we definitely are we have a collaborative culture of, everyone on the team really making an impact in what we do and the products and customer experience that we offer, on all the different teams, all the different departments. We're touching these PV systems in different ways, the customers, and all of that feedback of really seeing what our customers are doing in the field, what the pain points are, and what we can do on the product side, is something I really like about, taking that feedback, taking that experience, and then seeing what we can do as a solution.
Chint has offices in California, Texas, and New Jersey. I think you're in the California office. Tell us a little bit about the work environment, and are you mostly office-based on your team or hybrid?
Yeah, so I am in our Pleasanton, California office, and we have a hybrid, I guess, policy now. I know since COVID, we've definitely adjusted, but we we enjoy coming into the office together to have that type of collaboration. Some of us are working remote, and we're able to collaborate over Zoom and communicate. But there's definitely a lot of good collaboration that we do in the office together that is sometimes hard to do when you're only on Zoom or only communicating virtually. So yeah, it's allowed us, in Pleasanton at least, we have different departments. We've got our engineering, we've got our customer operations and sales that, we see different parts of a project, different customer experiences, whether they're ordering, they're designing, they're installing. So really kind of taking all of that, putting our heads together, different ideas of how we can improve, has really led to our success, and customers really like working with us. I think they can feel that type of collaborative culture and, having kind of a consistent, reliable message to our customers.
Excellent. Well, in our last few minutes together, Anton, what else should our listeners know about your work, about what's going on at Chint, and what's going on in the solar industry?
So with my work, I'd say if there are any questions, if you're looking at a system design, looking at string technology for large systems, or looking at any of our products, definitely reach out. We're here to provide that type of support, whether you've got a question about, the product, certifications, how to design, how to install. We're here to help with that, and help you be successful with your projects. And we're always listening to the feedback, whether there's something we're not offering yet, something we can do better. So always welcoming that type of feedback, especially on the product side. And yeah, we've got a lot of new products coming to the market, new launches. So if you are at RE Plus in Las Vegas, we're booth 2521. So definitely, if you're there, come check out our products. You can see them live in person, and I feel like that's usually the best way to really understand a product, when you can see it.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by DinoWatts. If you're a solar PV asset manager or performance engineer, you need better data and better business intelligence. With DinoWatts digital twin benchmarking technology, you get more accurate, efficient, and faster performance measurement results. The fourth generation Dino recently completed a technical review by DNV. You can download the report at dinowatts.com. That's DENOWATTS.com. Now back to the show. Excellent. Well, check out chintpowersystems.com. That's where you can find all the product information. And how can our listeners connect with you personally, Anton?
Yeah, we have on our website, we have our contact information. You can call our hotline. You can reach out to our team. We'll be there to answer. And if you are at RE Plus, come by. I'll have my cards there available for you, and we can get in touch.
Excellent. Check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Give us a rating and a review on Apple and Spotify. That is the best way you can support the show. And by all means, tell a friend about the show. We are always looking for more listeners to educate and inspire into the energy transition. And we have a very robust YouTube channel. Check out our YouTube channel and subscribe for the twice weekly shows that we're dropping. I want to thank Anton Patton with Chint Power Systems for coming on the show today. Look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Tim Montague. Let's grow solar and storage. Hey, listeners, this is Tim. I want to give a shout out to all of you. I do this for you twice a week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your time. I really appreciate you and what you're all about. You are part and parcel of the energy transition, whether you're an energy professional today or an aspiring energy professional. So thank you. I want to let you know that the Clean Power Hour has launched a listener survey, and it would mean so much to me if you would go to cleanpowerhour.com, click on the About Us link right there on the main navigation. That takes you to the About page, and you'll see a big graphic, Listener Survey. Just click on that graphic, and it takes just a couple of minutes. If you fill out the survey, I will send you a lovely baseball cap with our logo on it. The other thing I want our listeners to know is that this podcast is made possible by corporate sponsors. We have two wonderful sponsors today, Chint Power Systems, the leading three-phase string inverter manufacturer in North America, and Dynawatts, a performance monitoring platform for utility scale solar. So check out CPS America and Dynawatts. But we are very actively looking for additional support to make this show work. And you see here our media kit with all the sponsor benefits and statistics about the show. You know, we're dropping 2 episodes a week. We have now over 320,000 downloads on YouTube, and we're getting about 45,000 downloads per month. So this is a great way to bring your brand to our listeners, and our listeners are decision makers in clean energy. This includes project executives, engineers, finance, project management, and many other professionals who are making decisions about and developing, designing, installing, and making possible clean energy projects. So check out cleanpowerhour.com, both our listener survey on the About Us and our media kit, and become a sponsor today. Thank you so much. Let's grow solar and storage. The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, the maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 6 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS America product lineup includes three-phase string inverters ranging from 25 to 275 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 250-275, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. The 250-275 pairs well with CPS America's exceptional data communication, controls, and energy storage solutions. Go to chintpowersystems.com to find out more.